You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, welcome to my Upper West Side apartment. Come on in. I am Marianne Sides, and I am a content creator in New York, and I run the blog, The MA Times. We just actually moved to New York about 4 months ago, so we're totally New York newbies still, but it was always a pipe dream of ours to live here, so we finally took the plunge during the pandemic, of course, which is not an ideal time to move, but like we kind of lucked out with the apartment. We actually rented this apartment sight unseen. We had friends come see it for us, and we were like, you know what, we have this feeling that's the one, so we signed the lease without ever seeing it and moved. We are in our foyer, which I cannot believe our first New York apartment has a foyer, but we are here. I am so thankful that we have this space. So we painted the whole space when we moved in. We also painted these archways. I was really inspired by how a lot of the Brooklyn brownstones actually have painted black archways in their entrances, so that's sort of what inspired us to do it here and recreate it. This piece of furniture was something that when I realized we had a wall space for it, we were so excited to bring it. This was actually Ryan's grandmother's. We painted it black and refinished it, and then also updated it with some hardware, and it's storage piece, but also something sentimental that we were able to bring with us. So this one has a few different pieces. Some of them we found from shops online, some we found in vintage shops here. The one in the brown frame up there I actually found from a local used bookstore. It's called Westsider Books. If you're in Manhattan or in New York, check it out because they have some amazing vintage books. But pretty much how I go about doing any of my gallery walls is I like to mix about 2 or 3 colors or like types of frames. So here I have the black, the browns, and golds. And then I will just lay them out on the floor. I usually space them about 1 inch or 2 inches apart. And then they make these command strips that have Velcro on them. You just stick them to the frame, stick them up on the wall, use a level, and you're good to go. I don't actually pre-measure anything before I put it up. I just start going and see where it takes me, and kind of love the collected look that it ends up having.
So that means you don't use any nails?
No nails. Nope. It's all just like you can rip it off if you wanted to, and it's just Velcro onto the wall, and then you just peel it off when you move out and hopefully don't have to repair anything. Let's go into the living space. So this is our living room, dining room, cafe, bar, office area, a little bit of everything. It's a really big room for a living space in New York, so we lucked out there. I think the first thing that you see, the elephant in the room, is a beautiful fireplace. 2 days into us moving here, we found this gem on Facebook Marketplace, believe it or not. There was a girl who was selling it in Washington Square Park. It was snowing that day, but we just went and grabbed it. I think she was selling it for like $200. This is my TV, actually, believe it or not. So this is a Samsung frame. It displays artwork on it, and the reason it's on an easel is because we tried to mount it above the fireplace when we moved in, and hope my landlord doesn't see this, but we put a hole in the wall trying to mount it. So lesson learned, you do not drill into pre-war walls.
Did you put up all this molding?
We did. So we knew we wanted to have that here, so we found a renter-friendly way to do it. It's actually made out of polyurethane, so it's super lightweight. We did the same thing here where we put the double stick mounting tape behind it and pressed it up. Painted it. All the walls are Swiss coffee. It's a pre-war building. It was built in, I think, 1925. So we wanted to incorporate a lot of kind of Art Deco influences like from that era, and I have somewhat of a modern style, but I really like to incorporate vintage elements and like a collection of things that are meaning to us as opposed to just filling it with stuff. And I think that was something that we learned when we moved to New York, is that space is limited and everything that you have in your apartment needs to be either intentional or practical, even if it's pretty. So this looks like a sconce, right? It's actually not hardwired. These are hardwire lights, and you can just put little puck lights up in there that are controlled on a remote, and you can fake it. So what would usually cost several $100s to get it installed and have something that you have to majorly repair when you move out, we actually did this for very inexpensively, and it looks perfect. These were a find on Craigslist, actually. So I think they were from the 60s or 70s, and we snagged them. We actually painted them black. They were wood before. So this is something, I don't know if I'm more proud of this or of our fireplace, but this was a cabinet. When we moved here, I needed somewhere to store all my glassware. Our cabinet space got small really quickly, so we wanted some sort of curio cabinet, and this actually was another secondhand find. Believe it or not, this was like $300, I think. It was kind of a golden brown when we got it, and then we painted it black, and I think it's perfect. So this is the other side of our living space. It is, if you don't live in New York, you might not know, having a dining room feels like a luxury in the city. But we actually didn't have it at first when we moved in. We had the living room about 6 different ways, I think, before we kind of found what flow worked best and what maximized the space. And once we set it up this way, we realized we actually had room to put a dining room in this corner with our little bar cart over there, and then also make room for an office along this wall. This is my husband Ryan, and this is one of our cats. This is Neville. He's our shy.
Yeah, this is the one that you'll never see. So this is actually a treat for you and for everybody.
It's his first camera debut, probably.
Yeah, it's the first time he's been seen in public.
So Ryan, you're the artiste here. Tell me about this gallery wall.
Yeah, so everything on this gallery wall kind of has a story or means something to us. It has some relevance. It wasn't just a bunch of things that we thought were pretty. Well, these 3 are original Picassos, but specifically these 2 are my favorites.
So how do you go about getting Picassos?
Yeah, so I know that when you hear Picasso, you're like, no, there's no way. You don't have $20 million. He did tons of these just little sketches and watercolors in like a little sketchbook, and you can find these, they're verified by galleries and art museums, but you can find them on auctions and through galleries for less than $1,000 a piece.
So now we're kind of leaving our living space. Our apartment kind of makes a circle, so we're going into our kitchen now, which for New York standards, this is a big kitchen, which I was thrilled with because I do actually love to cook. For all the great restaurants that are here, I actually love being in the kitchen. So when we moved in, it was okay for a New York kitchen, but we wanted to really make it our own and renovate it a little bit. So we added this, believe it or not, is peel and stick. So this comes on a sheet and it's real marble. It's actual tile and was not that expensive. So we replaced our backsplash. We replaced the hardware and the faucet as well. We actually did that ourselves. It's not as hard or as intimidating as you might think it is. And just those things alone really updated the kitchen and made it feel like us. So the view, you can actually see the Hudson River from our window. This at night, it just twinkles and it's a dream city view. I can't believe I get to stand here, make my coffee in the morning and look out the window. So we actually added this bar cart in, and I actually usually end up cooking and prepping food here and then turning around, which our stove does open. There's always a lot of concern. There is room. But then we also added this open shelving. That was something else we had in our old home that I really wanted to bring here. We just have a lot of things I love displaying, but we also made it functional with the food storage jars, and so there's lots of ways to make it feel very pretty and decorative while still being really functional. This is one of my favorite things. This is a framed menu from a cafe that was across from our Airbnb in Paris. It was just one we ate at a lot after we got engaged, and nothing super fancy, but it was just held a lot of memories for us. Welcome to the bedroom. We were lucky enough to be able to bring our king-size bed, which another little luxury that I'm very thankful to have in our apartment. We've got Luna and Neville here. These are my little babies. This is where they are 90% of the time, is in this room. Well, this is the peach room, first of all, if you didn't notice. And so we really played off of that with these botanical prints. These were actually something we had in our attic for a long time. They were Ryan's. He had gotten them. They're from a museum, and he'd always wanted them hung up somewhere, and I felt like it really just fit this space perfectly. So we sort of played off of this, and we put up this beautiful Regina Andrews chandelier onto the ceiling. It's got little floral crystals on it. It feels very whimsical to me. It's a lot more color than I'm ever used to incorporating into a space, but it just feels like this little garden retreat almost, and just sort of magical and playful and little bit vintage with the chandelier and the prints.
What do you love most about your home?
I love, it's just so cozy. It feels like us. I mean, the city's so big, it just feels so warm and welcoming in here, and it has so much personality. I love that we have the original architecture and the high ceilings to really play off of with design. And I have to say, I think our location and this view of the water is another thing. I sit in bed every night and I can see the sunset over the Hudson, and it is just, I sit in that window and I'm like, how do I live here? It's such a pinch me moment for me every day.
Thanks for watching. For more home-worthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.